Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, the Sovereign of Suplexes, and joining me, as always, is my amazing co-host, the Hellcat of Headlocks, Dawn. Tonight, we're covering WWE Raw from February 24th. Let's get into it. Is that your Hellcat of Headlocks sound?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. All right, this episode of Monday Night Raw is taking place in Cincinnati, Ohio, and to start us out comes Logan Paul, a native of Ohio. And as there was a funny interaction early on because Pat McAfee says, "Hey, Logan Paul's from here," and Michael Cole says he's from like a different city. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
But then Pat McAfee goes, "I meant from the entire state, dumbass." I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be that kind of night." So
Yeah, rare form.
Rare form. So Logan Paul comes out, and he's Cincinnati. Logan Paul's in the house. I appreciate y'all. I respect that. As you know, I'm from Ohio, and still half the crowd boos him. And he's like, "Enough with the booze. I'm just like all of y'all, except way better." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." This isn't going to be like the Rock thing where you're trying to gaslight the audience.
Yeah, I love you guys. Shut up, I'll slap you.
And for the most part, he's just talking about how he is the whole damn show, and he's going to, beat up everybody in the Elimination Chamber, much like how he recently defeated the Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. And I think his math didn't math because he says, "I'm going to beat," what did he call him? 3? He might as well have said
What
3
was it?
jabronis and John Cena. And I'm like, okay, but like you're
3 doorknobs or something.
3
Yeah.
doorknobs and John Cena. And I'm like, well, by my estimation, I believe there's 6 people in the Elimination Chamber. There's 1 in each of the 4 corners, and then 2 to start. Unless they've changed up the format, and I was unaware. So he only listed 5 people. I guess the one he must have forgotten about was CM Punk, because it was at this point that CM Punk decides to interrupt. And I was like, can we please just keep Logan Paul talking?
I was the opposite, surprisingly.
I just don't like CM Punk, and I don't like his promos.
I know. And it's only because I don't like either one of them, right? But it's only because Logan Paul has a tendency to go on and on about stuff. Well, you know what? Actually, the same reason that I don't like Logan Paul is the same reason I don't like CM Punk. I was about to say he has the tendency to go on and on about stuff that isn't actually true. Like him going on and on that people are upset or jealous because he's good in the ring. And it's like, that's, why people don't like you, Logan. Stop it. As a matter of fact, stop even pointing to it. Try to go the opposite direction. No, you can't.
Well,
Okay.
Counterpoint. Logan Paul came in and listed off accolades he's actually accomplished, and then
True.
CM Punk came out, and then Logan Paul said, "Oh, what's your issue with me? Is it the fact that every time you get put in the spotlight, you crumble?" And I mean, I would like to refer to AEW attempting to put the heavyweight belt on him twice, and he could not keep it.
Oh, it's their fault because it was the heavyweight belt, and come on.
Oh, it was too heavy for CM
Yeah,
Punk. But I
what
think
is he?
that's
A
kind of
$150?
would you then say he crumbled under the weight of that belt? Um,
Yeah.
But at any rate, they proceed to cut a promo on each other, and it's dick measuring and not particularly inspiring dick measuring. The only part that was really kind of fun is that just before the segment ended, they're kind of in a face-off, and Logan Paul like quickly slaps Punk and gets out of the ring. And Punk
Yeah.
like says, you know, at Elimination Chamber, you'll hear why they chant my name. But I mean, he's bleeding from his mouth when he's saying it, so it's a little like most things he says. It just doesn't seem genuine. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe he'll perform well in Elimination Chamber. I'm fairly certain Logan Paul will because of all the complaints that you can leverage at Logan Paul. His in-ring performance is never one of them.
No. No, and that's exactly why I'm like, Logan, stop. Nobody's hating on you because you are good in the ring. People like that
No.
about you.
It's all this extracurricular other
It's
crap.
all the other stuff, my guy.
Yep.
You know the other stuff.
Then after that, they went on to break the secret that the whole entire internet knew before Friday Night SmackDown even aired, and that was that WrestleMania 42 will take place in the Caesar Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana.
What? The Caesar Salad Dome?
Right?
What?
Yeah, the Caesar Salad Dome.
I didn't hear that. In Nolans? Nah, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, in Nolans.
Yeah, you know, never mind. That's not a wrestling comment. Moving on.
Moving on, that does bring us to the first match of the night, which is a triple threat match between one Ludwig Kaiser, PD Dune, that little butch, and Pinta El Cero Miedo. And nothing against Ludwig Kaiser. I've been real impressed with him in his 2024 doing his own solos thing. And of course, I'm there to see what Penta does. And then there's Pete Dunne. I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed with Pete. His character doesn't make much sense. His outfit doesn't have any cohesiveness, and his moveset really fucking sucks. Those are my reasons. I don't like the stupid finger torture crap, and most everything else is like an enziguri, with the exception of the bitter end. Like his whole moveset is damn boring.
Yeah.
And again, as a character, he just might as well not exist. He is the absolute epitome of the vanilla midget that Triple H has some kind of fucking rock hard boner for, and I don't understand it. But I digress. This ended up being a pretty good match despite PD Dooney. And there was some nice exchanges. Like, let's see, what was it? There was a point where I want to say Penta throws Kaiser out of the ring, and this is near the end of the match. And while he's got his attention on Kaiser, Pete comes up behind him, grabs hold of him, and hits him with the bitter end. And we're like, oh shit, Pete Dunne's going to steal this match. But then Ludwig interrupts it. But then when Ludwig is attempting to do something, I want to say Pete kicks him, and so he ends up doubled over. And Penta launches off the back of Kaiser and hits a Mexican destroyer on Pete Dunne. And it was crazy amazing.
Beautiful, yeah.
And then I think Penta threw Ludwig out of the ring. And he tries to go for the pin, and I want to say Ludwig comes back in and tosses him out of the ring and picks up like the dilapidated Pete Dunne and hits him with his twisting DDT, and the DDT looked amazing. And he ends up stealing the victory. So this is a win in this triple threat for Ludwig Kaiser. And that was pretty doggone amazing. I mean, it was a really good match to start the night.
Yeah.
High octane. The only downside, if I had to pick one, other than Pete Dunne, I'm not gonna continue to rag on him. The only downside was there was because we were looking at it on Netflix, and there was commercial break that is built into the show, not through Netflix, that made us miss a like really cool. I want to say Penta delivered a power bomb
Oh yeah.
while Kaiser was attempting to superplex Pete Dunne, and it just ended up being this giant superplex power bomb. Now they replayed it later, but it was a real unfortunate timing for that commercial for that spot.
Yeah.
That's really the only negative on it, though. It was a really solid match.
Yeah.
And then we go from there. I think there was a brief John Cena vignette about how, if not now, then never. And
Right,
it was
yeah.
just a replay of his press conference where he basically declared himself for Elimination Chamber and intends to go to WrestleMania. They've shown that same segment for weeks now, so it was nothing new, unfortunately. And then following from there, we go to Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, who have a segment. It actually starts out with Jackie Redmond interviewing Rhea Ripley. And if you'd like,
she's out in the audience.
I don't know if they're in the audience so
Couldn't
much
really
as there's like a little small stage that's kind of almost in the audience that I think they interview on. It was the same kind of a stage that like Finn Balor and Seth Rollins talked to each other on just before their qualifying match.
Yeah.
And the same kind of a mini stage where you remember CM Punk saying he, before the Royal Rumble, he'd put Jackie Redmond over the top rope.
Yeah.
Same stage. So it's like this little stage that they conduct interviews on that's kind of in with the crowd. But I feel like I have been doing a lot of the chitty chatty. So if you'd like, please let us know what Rhea had to say to Jackie Redmond.
Well, Jackie Redmond asked Rhea. Basically, she's like, we're all waiting in anticipation to see who's going to win this women's elimination chamber match on Saturday to become the challenger for this very title. But the thing is, and she reminded her that there was a match that she had with Io before that. And she pointed out that technically they don't know who will be the women's world champion by the time the elimination chamber match takes place. And I thought, well, yeah, actually, no, that's right. Because at first I was confused. I thought that they had a match Friday for some reason. And I'm like, well, doesn't that happen? Well, I mean, doesn't that happen before Elimination Chamber? So we would already know, but no, I was wrong. It's the other way around. It's going to be Elimination Chamber Saturday, and then their match Monday. So she was saying that they don't know who the person who wins Elimination Chamber will be challenging or facing come the following Monday.
Yeah.
So it took my stoner brain a minute to figure that out, and then once it did, I got back on page.
That'd be a kind of wild swerve, wouldn't it? Like Rhea Ripley loses to Io Sky, and like has between the end of Elimination Chamber and like WrestleMania to try and catch her title back before it's
Yeah. Yes. That would be crazy. I mean, if anybody could do it, I'm not saying Io couldn't. Io could do it. She's a pretty little badass. But Jackie Redmond wanted to know, her question to Rhea was, how are you managing to prepare for this title defense with the Elimination Chamber looming? And of course, Rhea, in her total cool, what did she say? Look, I would have an eye on Elimination Chamber. But my full focus is on next week because Io was right. Yeah, that was her. She's never beaten her. And while she was talking her smack, Io steps out and says, I think she said what she said in English and Japanese first. But Rhea like basically goes down the list of the people that she's beaten in those 5 years because she's never beaten Io, right? But there's like a 5 year timeline or 5 year span there in
since they had
between.
had a match. Yeah.
Right. And Rhea was letting her know, like, those 5 years, she's become like the most dominant woman here in the WWE, right? And in
She's
those
so British for an Aussie girl.
and in those 5 years, she's beaten absolutely everyone that stepped up to her. She's beaten Becky Lynch, and I'm like, true. She's beaten Charlotte Flair, true. Liv Morgan, true. You name them, she's beaten them. So after next week, she's gonna have to add Io Sky's name to that list, and then that's when Io was like, "Are you sure about that?" She's kind of stepped into the. Yeah, she was like right off camera apparently. She just came into the frame looking very upset per usual.
Kinda. Like she has this weird.
She has this face where she looks like she's upset but also confused.
Well, it's strange because she'll come in looking upset, and then transition to like smiling at you, and then back to upset, and it's like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah. I don't think she knows what's happening. I think she just responds to the feelings that her body does. Just like as it happens, you know, she's just riding the wave, man.
In real time.
And she's yeah, that's her.
That seems accurate.
Yeah. So I think she says in Japanese first, next week I will beat you again. But then she says it in English, and then she says I will go to WrestleMania as the women's world champion.
Short, sweet, and to the point. She was
to the point, yeah. And that was that for that particular promo. I think Rhea may have held the belt in the air.
Yeah, I think
she
did elevate the belt.
Yeah. And this is basically them trying to put a little heat on this match, remind people that it was going down. I honestly do not believe that Io is going to take the belt. I'm not saying that she can't. I don't think that it's written as such, especially considering this is one of Rhea's first title defenses since she got the belt back. So, I just don't see them shit canning Rhea like that. So, I fully expect a good match. I just don't think that belt's changing hands, especially Jackie Redmond made a perfect. She made an excellent point that this match is happening after after the Elimination Chamber, and we don't know who that person will be facing. I mean, that's cool. That's a cool little heat that you put on that. A really cool little spin, like that angle. But I honestly just do not see that belt moving after Elimination Chamber, before WrestleMania, and on a Monday. So I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened, but I don't think that belt's moving then. And I just don't think it's going anywhere. I think Rhea's going to hold on to it for a minute.
Yeah, potentially. Here's a neat thought. We have one SmackDown between us and Elimination Chamber, right? Because it's this Saturday.
Right.
Now, and they keep getting closer and closer. They're teasing like this Jade Cargill shit. What if Jade Cargill shows up on SmackDown and she like absolutely knows who attacked her, and it's one of the women that's in the Elimination Chamber? Suppose it's like either Bianca or Naomi or Bayley. And she obliterates that person, and Nick Aldis is like, "Well, what do? We're a person shy." And she's like, "Well, I think since this individual took me out, I deserve the spot in the Elimination Chamber." And they put her in the Elimination Chamber, and Jade Cargill goes on to win, and we end up with most likely Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill at WrestleMania.
I'd be here for it. That'd be insane. But I feel that Jade Cargill is coming back soon. Like, it's looming. I'm just trying to figure out on what show or, when they're going to drop this bomb. Yeah. And I don't think it was Liv or Raquel, again, because they would have admitted it. That we saw them attack them just like out openly. We've seen Liv Morgan attack Rhea out openly, like the camera pans and she's just standing there like a psycho and she attacks. Like, there's no hidden Nothing.
Yeah, no, she's actually said it in that interview.
Flat
She's
out.
like, "No,
Yes.
we
Yes.
didn't, but would we care if anything happened to her?" And it's like that's the point we were making is like
Yeah.
none of these women who are the obvious like heels would do anything but brag about taking Jade Cargill out of action. They would be
Yeah.
proud of that fact. They wouldn't hide it. So it's more than likely somebody that Jade considered an ally, which puts, you've got Bailey, Naomi, and Bianca. Those are the only interesting choices that remain for this particular arc.
Yeah.
It would be especially interesting if it was Bianca.
It would be
And
very interesting if it was Bianca, and I would have to wonder what would be your end goal here, like because eventually she's gonna come back, right? Like
maybe
she's gonna come
jealousy.
back.
And besides, that kind of like bad guy thinking is never that long term. I would
Yeah,
honestly think it would make the most sense to be Naomi because she's gained the most from it. I don't think Bailey had enough to gain from it. And she's not even on. Is she still on SmackDown or did she move to Raw? I can't remember. But
yeah,
she's not been in the picture much, which might put the finger on her because WWE, when they don't want you to think it's somebody, will tend to make
yeah,
them step out of the spotlight. So
yeah.
maybe it's Bailey.
But with that same logic, it could be Lash Legend too. With that,
It could. But I mean, for the purposes of the scenario I'm painting, it's one of her three allies that are in
yeah,
Elimination Chamber. Because you're right, it makes no sense for Liv, and the other two participants are, oh man, blanking on both of their names.
yeah. I can't
Gal,
remember.
Gal who just came back, the little blonde who's
Oh,
affiliated with the
Charlotte?
Wyatt Six. No,
No,
not that blonde.
Alexa
Different blonde.
Bliss.
Alexa Bliss.
Right.
And then what's her name? Pop Rocks, Roxy Perez. Roxy Perez. And neither of them have motive at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if Liv didn't do it, and that would be the least interesting person to do it, and Roxy and Alexa don't have any motive, then it's got to be one of those other three. That's the only interesting ending to this arc that has a payoff, is that it's one of them. Or like you said, Lash Legend, that's another good one. But if it was going to be like, I'm going to kick your ass and take your place in Elimination Chamber and really shake it up, and then she wins and goes to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, that's insanity.
Yeah.
So that's entirely speculation on my part, but I think it would be a badass angle. Like that would be cool as fuck.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. But it remains to be seen. I think Bianca would be really cool and exciting because I have wanted Bianca to go heel for a very long time. Something in me, I don't know what it is. I could be absolutely wrong, but something in me tells me that she would make a really good heel. My dark side points are usually pretty accurate.
And
so,
what's the motive? Just jealousy? Like the
just
spotlight
jealousy.
she didn't want to share with Jade?
Yeah, just jealousy because I mean that like you want to talk about some competition. There was no other woman in the promotion that would be look at her. Like yeah. Bianca had no other competition.
Well, and Bianca has been steadily getting even more jacked since Jade hit the scene. So it's like I don't know if that's just a natural competitive thing or if maybe there was some instruction. It's like eventually we want you and Jade to go against each other. So get more jacked so it's more even.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
I don't think had any trouble getting more jacked. Like we watched her tonight and all 8 of her abs were popping.
Yeah. Yes. So she, because I mean, just like how these tag teams always break up. There's always somebody who's like, I come along or you come along after, I've worked so hard in this division to get where I am. You come along and they hand you basically everything. And why? People, I'm compared to you. I've been here for years and now I'm being compared to you. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that could be a really cool angle. Although that sounds more like it would culminate in a match at WrestleMania between Bianca and Jade.
I know.
And maybe that's the direction they'll go with it instead of it being like Jade versus Rhea. But I would love to see Jade versus Rhea. I think that would be two women powerhouse knockout match.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd be happy for either one of these. Give me either one, and I would be so joyful. Excuse me.
I digress. Following that amazing kind of little interview with Rhea and Io, we get a little segment about the new show WWE LFG. And usually those kind of little cutaways annoy me. I'm like, I'm watching Raw. I don't need to watch Evolve or LFG or hear about the NFL. I'm trying to watch Raw. And on Netflix, fortunately, I got fast forwarded. This time I didn't, because Road Dogg Jesse James is apparently stopping in there. And I know he's getting a lot of heat for that Rock segment, but apparently he didn't do it. From what I read, the Rock's usual or Cody's usual promo writer guy was the guy who wrote portions of that segment. It wasn't actually directly Road Dogg. That said, Road Dogg apparently stopped into the Performance Center with these new up and comers and just showed them promo gold. Like he just was dropping bars off the top of his head, and it looked like it could be pretty compelling. That was one of maybe the second segment I've seen from LFG that makes me maybe want to try and take a look at that show at some point. That and the fact that Undertaker's on it. But again, I digress. We come to the second match of the night, which is the New Day, now darker and more evil, and definitely not sucking, versus the LWO. And we weren't sure which members of the LWO it was going to be. It turned out to be Joaquin and Cruz, and we were like, oh. But apparently Joaquin and Cruz have been like killing it in the gym. Cruz is still carrying a little bit of baby fat, but he looks like he's bulked up some of his muscle mass. And Joaquin is getting shredded. Like he's getting a physique not unlike, admittedly he's shorter, but not unlike Montez Ford, who has one of, like, he's not huge. He's not like, I'm going to go win the Mr. Olympia, but he looks very athletic. And Joaquin is looking that way now too. And I was pleasantly surprised by how well Joaquin and Cruz were performing in this match. But ultimately, the dark and evil New Day got the one up on them and ends up beating them in the match. And then after the match, they proceed to continue beating on them until Dragon Lee shows up. And it looks like Dragon Lee is going to save the day, except that the New Day turn around on him. And so when all is said and done, the New Day ends up, clearing the ring out and showing a more vicious side of themselves and standing tall over the LWO, all three of the remaining members minus, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Which is fair because that's pretty much what happened. I think the last time we saw them, all three of them jumped the Boo Day.
Yeah.
So
now
turnabout's fair play.
It was a solid match. It was good. Toro and Cruz performed very well. There was only one kind of iffy, like not quite perfect spot, and that was when Xavier and Kofi were attempting to do like a double power bomb to I want to say Cruz del Toro. And they couldn't quite get the timing right, so it looked a little sloppy to begin with, but they finally got him up and then delivered the power bomb. Otherwise, it was a good match between these guys. So props to that one. New Day winners by pinfall. And then following that, we find ourselves going back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. And would you like to speak to this?
Sure. When we get to the Judgment Day Clubhouse, we got Finn Balor, who is big mad again with Dominic Mysterio. He mentioned that last week, the most embarrassing day in the history of the Judgment Day. And he feels that it was because of Dominic. Excuse me. He mentioned how Dominic was talking how he was gonna beat AJ Styles, and and he ended up getting speared by Braun Breaker. Dom reminds him that Dom got Finn an Elimination Chamber qualifying match with Seth freaking Rollins, and he lost that. And then he brought up the new member thing. Finn ain't feeling that. Live more. Actually, Carlito originally showed up first, and he was like, "You guys are still at this. Like, can we drop it or whatever?" And Finn's like, "Be gone, thought." And then Liv Morgan comes with Raquel, and she pretty much, says the same thing that Carlito says, like, "You guys are still going at this." And she pointed out, Liv, that it's a huge week for her, and she's got she had a match tonight at the main event, and then she's got the Elimination Chamber, and she said that her and Raquel are going to bring gold to the Judgment Day, and Finn, because he's again big leprechaun mad, blames Liv and Raquel for what happened to Jade Cargill, and they're bringing enough problems to Judgment Day's door, and Liv doesn't care about Jade Cargill because they weren't involved in the attack. So yeah, she said it right there, folks. And again, I don't see why she would lie about this one thing. You know what? Maybe at this point she's doing it, and if we find out that it was really them, I guess that's a huge swerve. I don't know, but I still don't feel like it is. I still feel like that would just be dumb. It would be an eye roll.
It would be uninteresting compared to if it were Naomi or Bailey or Bianca.
Yeah, or Bianca. It would be really great if it was Bianca. But I just don't. It would be lame. Okay. Or maybe somebody else that we don't even know about, like just back there, who was just like sick of it, just tired of it, whatever. That'd be great.
Last Legend, you remember they were going at it for a while.
Yeah. So where was I? So he was blaming them, Finn, being the he in that sentence that I was just starting there. He's blaming them for what happened to Jade Cargill. Liv's like, "Bitch, we didn't do that, and we don't care." And she's worried about that goal. So and she said that Finn should have Dominic's back in his match with Braun Breaker later that night. Dom gives Liv a kiss on the forehead, and he walks away to go get ready for his match. And I think all the dudes left at that point to go, I guess, I don't know, get into a circle jerk position or get ready for I don't know, whatever it is they do. They went off to do that.
Jerk.
Oh, gross. I did it to myself. I did, and you just poured salt on the wound.
Oh, and this is a crucial detail about that interview that we can't overlook. Carlito got an apple, but not just any one. He got a yellow one.
Oh God, please. Guys,
I'm just saying, it's impertinent.
Is it?
No, it's absolutely not.
It's so not impertinent. I don't know what they're doing with Carlito. Again, it just angers me that they have money in their budget for this clown car to talk about the color of his apples. That's it. Shut the front door. Are we serious?
I think he's on the special contract where he gets paid in apples.
What? He's on the spectrum. I think that's what you were about to say.
Yeah, I don't know. We recently saw like Carlito in an interview with was it Chris Van Vliet?
Mm-hmm.
And it made it clear to me that his character Carlito is a woeful underutilization of the actual guy.
Misunderstood too.
Yeah. And so that's apparently all they want to do with Carlito. But I don't think it's the extent of what Carlito is capable of.
Yeah. I don't think it is either. I think Carlito is, and I wouldn't blame him. Fine to just go do his thing, cut his promos, get his check. I'm not hating on him for that. Like, you know, I'm just doing my heel thing.
Yeah. Well, not too long after that, we end up with the ring general making his way to the ring.
Oh,
And he's dressed to wrestle in this particular instance.
he was wearing a suit earlier, a tuxedo. He was wearing a golden suit. Yeah.
No, he came in there and he looked at Alpha Academy while he was drinking coffee and sneered at them, and he was wearing like a tracksuit or sweats. It wasn't a suit.
Also, yeah. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I just mentally answered my own question. Boop boop. So, but yeah, for some reason he remembers a suit on the guy. He was reading Wall Street Journal or some shit. I don't know. Michael be tripping. Y'all pray for Michael.
Yeah, Michael Cole. I mean, sometimes the stuff he says, I'm like, are you new at this?
Y'all pray for
Like,
him. He don't know.
You've been doing this for 18,000 years. It's the same way I feel when like Shivani doesn't know what a move is called over in AEW, and it's like, haven't you been a wrestling commentator for like 40 years at this point? You should know every move that's ever existed.
Yeah. You ain't wrong.
Meanwhile, he'll call like a destroyer a Hurricane Rana, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, look at that
people's
poison
elbow.
look
What?
at that poison Rana, and I'm like, that was a Mexican destroyer, dude. What are you talking about?
It's a Mexican destroyer.
Or all those times that like somebody is throwing an uranagi and he's like, choke slam, and it's like, nope, sure wasn't. You have to put your hand around someone's throat for that, Michael.
He's like X-Flex, and you're like, that's a sit-out powerbomb. I don't know.
Oh, that time Roman walked out of the corner with somebody up in the powerbomb position and put him through a table, and he's like, last ride, and I'm like, sure was not a last ride.
Roman to put somebody at the table. He's like, bitter. Just, oh my god, I can see him years down the road, just in some nursing home, screaming out wrestling moves. Here's an answer to everything.
While he's watching it on TV, and it's all the wrong moves, and it's like, no, dude, that's a. Like the nurse is like, I believe that was a snap suplex, Michael.
Oh my god.
Chope con hio. Nope, that was a roll-up pin, dude.
Schoolboy pin. Choke slam.
Yeah. He'll get one of them right. He'll be like, snapmare? And it's like, yep. But anyway, Gunter makes his way to the ring. He's dressed to wrestle, and he introduces himself as the world heavyweight champion, the greatest wrestler alive. I feel like that is shots fired to Platinum Max Caster. Although it is true,
do not say his name.
True if Gunter says it, or at least much more true than when Platinum Max Caster says it. Although I think he's got a trademark, Gunter, so just be watching for that cease and desist letter coming.
Just be watching. He's the Drake of the wrestling industry.
Oh no! Oh god! Oh, poor Platinum Max. Rip.
C-Max.
He says he wants to speak about WrestleMania, and he talks about how initially he was not that interested in Jay as his opponent. But as the weeks go by, he's warming up to the idea because he realizes the opportunity he has to embarrass that clown at the grandest stage of them all and end the Yeet circus for good.
Never.
And he talks about today he walked into Adam Pearce's office and offered him a world championship match, offered him the world champion in action tonight on Raw. So obviously he couldn't say no to that. And I'm thinking Pierce could actually, but I guess he didn't. And he says, "Everybody, let me introduce you to my hand-picked opponent." And out comes Akira Tozawa. And I was like, "Oh man, this is just going to be Gunter bullying this poor man."
Boy.
And he goes on to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Akira Tozawa." And he says, "Hold on, before the bell rings, let me explain why I picked you, okay? Because as I entered the building earlier, I noticed you were doing some weird TikTok dances with these other two clowns. And it bothered me because you and I, we've got a few things in common. Not many, but a few." And he says, "For example, we both uprooted our lives to make a career in the WWE. We both got into the best shape of our lives to prove that we belong here. But you're being wasted by just being a goof that dances around for the enjoyment of the degenerate fans. And just like Jey Uso, you're making the wrong choices. Jay's choice is to face me at WrestleMania, and it's going to cost him his career. But your career..." And he turns and he says, "What did you say last week, Pat? Anybody, one night only, anything could happen. So maybe, Tozawa, today you can achieve something that Jey Uso never will. You have the chance to earn my respect. So come on, Tozawa, earn my respect." And he keeps getting into Tozawa's face until Tozawa, kicks him. And that starts this match. And surprisingly, Tozawa doesn't die immediately. In fact, he gets off a nice little flurry of offense until Gunter rallies and kicks the ever-loving shit out of him with a big boot.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, the rest of this match is just Gunter bullying the crap out of Tozawa. It's brutal. And
It's mean. Yeah.
He eventually hits him with a massive power bomb, and Tozawa he starts to go for the pin, but then stops. And then he decides to put Tozawa in the sleeper and, get the referee stoppage. But he doesn't stop there. He puts it back on after the match is called until Otis decides to step into the ring. And Otis attempts to attack him and hulks up. And, as soon as Otis gets going, Gunter exits the ring. And then when Otis turns to, check on Tozawa, he gets back in the ring and puts Otis in the sleeper. And that brings out Jey Uso. And when Jey Uso hits the ring, Gunter bails. And so that's essentially how this match played out. And you've got Jey Uso kind of, keeping a watchful eye and checking on Tozawa and Otis and all them while Gunter slinks away. Poor Tozawa. I mean, he did get some in-ring action, but he got mauled.
Yeah, both of those statements are true. He got some in-ring action. He got mauled. Those two things exist in the same universe. Yeah.
And I'm fairly certain he's going to get some in the, little first aid medical area action as well. And after that, there was Logan Paul interrupts Kathy Kelly's backstage interview with AJ Styles, I think. Actually, is that how that went? I don't remember seeing AJ on actually at all. So I don't think my notes here are correct. I think we did have a segment with Kathy Kelly talking to Logan Paul, but it was mostly Logan Paul making a point about how he's not here because he needs to be famous. He was famous before he ever entered the WWE. And he says, I didn't come here for wealth. I was wealthy before I ever entered the WWE. There's one reason and one reason only that he's in the WWE, and that is for the love of the game. He wants to compete. And that was the long and the short of it. And I remember at the end of that, I was like, well, I'll stop Logan when he is lying.
Yeah.
Because all of that's true. I mean, we can't argue that.
Yeah. No, we can't. And that's the point I've been trying to make with him, though. It's like, bruh, I know that they want him to be a heel, and I totally understand it. But I'm thinking they gotta find something else for him to harp on because I want him to get as far away from the real life aspect of this particular dude, I get it. I understand that you have a very controversial uh life going on, and just like you guys are, just like they got away from the whole prime energy drink thing when the drama, when the shit hit the fan. I kind of want them to lean away from his real life stuff because like it's I don't know. I feel like it's distracting in this particular situation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe him leaning into that makes him more of a heel. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think they got away from the Prime thing. I'm not entirely up to speed on what all the controversy was with the Prime energy drinks. I remember hearing that there was some investigation into its safety and something like that.
Then there
But
was the Olympic lawsuits
yeah,
because of his branding and all kinds of other stuff. Like it's just some kind of it's there's always something. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. But I mean, there's also a lot of stuff outside of the WWE that he does that isn't as controversial. Like his podcast, Impulsive, is actually really popular and it's
Yeah.
not extremely controversial. His combat sports stuff is like kind of controversial, but not in the same way as like the lawsuit stuff. It's more
Yeah.
like, come on, man, you're pulling people out of retirement and putting booking yourselves in matches. But I mean, everybody tuned in for that, like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's the same kind of controversy. Like one is like, oh, this is kind of, and the other stuff is more like, it's almost like it's the kayfabe controversy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think everything he does outside of the WWE is a negative for him, but they do need to put some space between the things that are.
Yeah.
Agree with you there.
Yeah. And what? Yeah. You summed it up perfectly.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, that would bring us to our fourth match. Would you like to speak to Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship?
Yeah. My critique of this particular match is kind of short. Um, in the beginning, it was kind of slow. It picked up towards the middle there. Um, it wasn't a super long match, but when it kicked up, they went full gear. Uh, Dakota looked good. Lyra, man, and they looked good together. Um, at first, the opening, there were lots of like holds that involved kicks to the face, and I remember you going like, "Just let go of the foot."
Right. Like it happened like 3 times. There was
In a
twice
row
on the ground
almost.
where
Yeah.
Dakota was hitting up kicks on Lyra, and it's like, just let go of her foot and you'll stop getting hit in the face.
Yeah, you wanna not be kicked in the face? Then maybe just let go of her foot and she'll stop doing that. Give it a try. Tell me how it works for you. Oh, look at that. She let go. Or she stopped kicking you in the face. That's great. Good job. And right after she learned that lesson, I think was it like Lyra did it twice and then Dakota did it once or something?
I want to say there was one where in both there were at least 2 instances of one competitor being on their back and up kicking at the other one. And then there was another instance where I want to say they were in the corner, like one of them was up on top and holding the leg of the other, and the other was up kicking them from like the top rope in the corner. And it's
Yeah.
but there were at least 3 separate instances where the running joke of like, just let go of the foot and you'll stop getting hit in the face,
Yeah.
played out. And so it was like
I
they
I
were
remember
making fun of that part.
I remember the first time it happened. You go, just let go of the foot. And then the second time it happens, you went, just let go of the foot, and the face kicking will stop. The third time it happens, you were like, let go of the foot. Like, I just don't know, man. But after the foot grabbing debacle of 2025 stopped, foot grapple con, when that stopped, and the face kicker con, two when those stopped, the match picked up. Well, I don't know the names. Like I can call out lots of moves, but I don't really know Dakota's or Lyra's moveset very well.
Yeah. I can
But
call out some high spots if you like.
yes, because there were a few in that particular match, and I think that they are definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah. In the second half of the match, as we're getting into the the home stretch, they really started trading some like heavy blows. Like there was a spinning back kick from Valkyria that I thought was just going to like gut Dakota Kai. Like she got her good. And I want to say after a brief exchange following that, Kai hits Valkyria with probably the first and only scorpion kick I've seen her deliver that actually looked like it dropped her. And there was a brief segment where they were on the ground and they were bridging out of pinning predicaments. And it ultimately resulted in Lyra Valkyria getting Dakota Kai up for this huge power bomb, and the power bomb looked really good.
Yeah.
Dakota was like splat. But then then I want to say Valkyria tried to go to the top, and when she launched at Dakota Kai super kicked her like anti-air style, and we were like, oh, nice.
Yep.
Then Kai went for her big face wash, and I remember that stood out in my mind because like the ref was in the way, and she had to move out of Dakota Kai's way, and we were like, damn it, ref.
Flashbacks to WWE 2K.
Flashbacks to 2K24. Yeah, the ref's always in the damn way. But then Dakota Kai hits that flipping backbreaker or flipping backstabber that she calls the chiropractor, and that looked disgusting.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like it was a hell of a move. And I want to say Dakota tried to go for that leaping foot stomp where she gets somebody kind of draped over the middle rope and then stomps their head in.
Yeah.
Valkyria avoids that. And they exchange like some forearms and some kicks, and they're trading back and forth. And kind of out of nowhere, Valkyria just picks up Dakota Kai in the fireman's carry, or I guess in this case, firewoman's carry position, and just drills an out of nowhere Nightwing to pick up the victory. But there in the home stretch, they were just going back and forth with the heavy hits.
Yeah. And it was good. And the audience so happy to say that the audience was very, very into this match. They were into it before I was into it. I was still bitching about the stuff, and the audience was like, "This is awesome!" Like, what the?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. They kind of got me on board because I'm like, let me calm down and just watch this match. And when I did, I was very happy. It was really good. But as I predicted, the winner and still WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria. Jesus Christ. My tongue was like blah.
Well, unfortunately, she may have kept her title, but it didn't work out so well for either Dakota Kai or Lyra Valkyria, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, right after that, didn't they get attacked?
Yep. I was trying to set you up if you wanted to knock that out.
I'm trying to remember it.
Ivy Nile like wrecks the
Ivy.
ring.
That's right.
And
That's
like
right.
she bodies Dakota Kai, who was just like sort of heading out, like she just doing the shame walk, and she
Yeah.
gets bodied by Ivy Nile, and Ivy Nile sprints to the ring. Man, she looked good too, running, and like her gun show is insane.
Yeah. No. You would not want something like that running towards you in anger.
No, and while Valkyria is up on one of the turnbuckles holding up the championship, Nile gets behind her, grabs her feet out from under her, and makes her take a pretty rough tumble face first into the top turnbuckle, and then proceeds to hit her with a massive release German suplex, ground and pounds her for a little bit, and then plants her with the, I guess, slightly new variation of her swinging Uranagi slam. Instead
Yeah.
of doing it from like a complete vertical suplex into the Uranagi slam, she did it more from like a almost like a scoop slam position. And I know you said it still looked like she's getting countered into a DDT, but I felt like it looked a lot less like she's getting countered into a DDT than it did with the vertical suplex one.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it doesn't look less, but it's all I can see still. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's not that it doesn't look badass. It looks badass, but I don't know if it's her size. I don't know if it's the position that she ends up in, but it just looks like she's taking the finisher and not
Giving it.
dishing. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I can't unsee it now. So
That's fair. I thought it looked pretty good though. I was able to distinguish the difference, and it definitely looked better than the one that was a vertical suplex style, which I felt very
yeah,
much looked like it was being countered into a DDT instead of
mm,
actually her dropping the Uranagi. But the end result is Ivy Nile posing with the women's IC title and attacking the crap out of the champion, hoping to get another match. And as we know, historically, that works. You attack the
yeah,
champ, and then the champ challenges you. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. Because I have been waiting to see. Like, I was, no offense to Dakota Kai, I was very disappointed that Ivy Nile lost in that match because Lyra has been hitting it in the gym as well, and she's starting
yeah,
to look a little stacked and jacked. And physically, she pairs up really well with Ivy Nile. So I think
yeah,
they would put on a fucking banger, those two. So that
yep,
was actually who I wanted to see go for the women's intercontinental opportunity. But it looks like that's the direction we're heading anyway, with just a stop through Dakota Kai. And I suppose it was good for Dakota Kai, who's returning and trying to make a name for herself as a more singles competitor. She's not coming out to uh, Damage Control music. She's not coming out with any members of Damage Control. She's coming out to her own music as a solo competitor right now. So it's giving me a strong impression that she's trying to do her own thing.
yeah. That's respectable. Now, I'm trying to remember. After that, I think we had a promo for Bailey.
You got me. I know that when we were watching this, there was a point where I had to run downstairs. But I think I was able to pause Netflix, and I don't honestly remember a segment with
Yeah,
Bailey
hold
and Roxy
on.
Perez. So I don't know. I don't know if that actually happened or not. Again, I'm not sure if I trust the notes that we have before us that's kind of recapping the show. We watched it, but these notes help us to remember the details
Yeah,
and refresh us.
and
I'm not.
this is not being refreshed in my memory.
No, no, I don't recall any interaction with Bailey and Roxy Perez at all. Maybe it was something we somehow missed watching Raw on Netflix, and I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work either. Either that or the person who wrote this is smoking a completely different strand. Something brand new that I have never heard of before. Because I don't, none of this sounds familiar to me, which is why I was kind of cocking my head to the side, going, eh? Eh. I do remember, Bianca Belair and Naomi had a little vignette. I remember that, and
Yeah, I do remember that.
I remember Sammy uh had a sit down interview with Jackie, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it was Jackie Redmond and Sami Zayn. We actually have some detail on that. I remember that he was talking about. Well, do you want to, or should I?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. Jackie is thanking Sammy for taking the time today for the interview. She says she's going to get right into it. We all know that you and Kevin have had a long up and down history together. And KO shocked the entire WWE universe when he crossed a very serious line on Friday and brought your family into it. And that's a reference back to on SmackDown when Kevin Owens cut a promo like just outside of Sammy's house. And she goes on to say, I mean, you were just telling me off camera that something else happened this week. I hate to put you on a spot. Would you be willing to share with us here what happened? And Sammy goes on to say, yeah, he actually went over to Kevin Owens' house, but no one was home. However, his mother was in town visiting, and she saw me, and she came out and said, hey, and we got to talking, and we caught up a little bit. It was great to see
So,
her.
was she at the house that no one was at, or?
Yeah, I guess he meant to say that like Kevin wasn't there. And maybe he knocked and nobody answered until she spotted that it was him through the glass. I don't know. But
Cap.
he right. It's kayfabe, right? It's probably
I
all
know.
cap. He
Yeah.
probably talked to her on the phone. But he goes on to say that he got home that night and was totally ashamed of himself and couldn't look himself in the mirror. And he said it's because he doesn't recognize this person who would go to Kevin's house, and he didn't even know what his own intentions were, but they weren't good intentions. And for all that Kevin and him have been through the years, family and that kind of stuff's never been involved. And he says, I just don't recognize myself. I don't recognize him. And one of the questions I've been getting asked a lot, you asked me before, how is it different this time? And he says it's different this time because he doesn't know what he's capable of right now, and he doesn't know what Kevin's capable of right now either. He doesn't think either one of them are quite themselves and are in a good headspace that either would recognize right now. He goes on to say that he understands a lot of people are looking forward to the match. It's unsanctioned. He understands why WWE didn't sanction it. That maybe they thought of his neck being a liability. And he admits that truthfully his neck isn't where he wants it to be. He says, but they also should be real concerned about what he's going to do to Kevin because, and he says this to Kevin, he says, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a war. This is going to be insane. Everything we've done to each other over the years, this is going to be worse than all of it. I hope you're ready because I'm telling you now, it's going to be a bad time. I know it's going to be bad for me, but you bet your ass it's going to be very, very bad for you. Which was weird. I'm like, couldn't you have just said worse? And he goes on to say, I hope you're ready. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's gonna be bad.
So both of them are unhinged going into an unsanctioned match. So expect crazy shit is the takeaway message.
Expect it to be bad because there's a lot of bad that's gonna be bad. And it's gonna be bad. So,
but it's gonna be bad for Kevin, according to Sammy.
Yeah, so much more bad.
More badderist.
Yeah.
The EST.
Oh my god, I snorted. That's what you want on your podcast. You want
I mean, you gotta.
You want to get that live action snort.
And as much as I complained about how incoherent like Kevin Owens' promo was, because it seemed like they were both on the page, right? They're both like, I'm gonna kill you. No, I'm gonna kill you more. And then it was like, I can't believe you're gonna make me do this. I'll never
You're gonna make me kill you.
And then Sammy's like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know who I am. That man looking in the mirror back at me is a murderer. And it's like, okay, all right, get out of your feels. Stop growing lady parts, and you guys just kick the shit out of each other, please. So, I mean, this is being overbuilt at this point. Like, you've done enough. You've said enough. We get it.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
have the damn match. But I am looking forward to it. Like after all that hype,
yeah.
it damn well better be that somebody like gets their head broken off or something, you know? Especially considering like this has to be way worse than what we saw Cody and Kevin do. And Cody did an Alabama slam to Kevin through a ladder onto the floor. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to top that unless you actually kill Kevin.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what your intention is here.
Yeah, and who's I'm curious all around about what's gonna happen here for this match. Curious indeed.
I, for a second there, thought we were heading like this was going to be WWE's version of Hangman versus Swerve. But
It
Kevin
might
Owens
be.
did not, in fact, set Sami Zayn's house on fire. So already you're falling behind. But who knows? Maybe he'll set Sammy on fire. I don't know.
Oh shit.
Or shave his beard. I don't know. It could be either of those things are equally evil. No, I don't know. But regardless, that brings us to the fifth match, which is Braun Breaker versus Dominic Mysterio with the entire rest of the male Judgment Day.
Take it away. What say you of this
Do you
match?
have any? You didn't have anything to say on this one? Okay.
No, I mean I did the last one. I thought we were taking turns, but I
I'm with
mean
you.
the only thing I have to say about this match is it went about it as expected. I mean Braun broke Dominic.
Yeah. This essentially played out exactly like you think it would. Breaker is destroying Mysterio.
Yeah.
And eventually the other two members of Judgment Day decide that they no longer care if they win the match. They're just going to mess with Breaker. And so they pull him literally out of the ring, get the match disqualified, and proceed to do a 3-man beatdown on Braun Breaker. The end.
Yeah.
Although there was a point where Braun did end up taking it back over. He ends up spearing Carlito. He throws Mysterio outside, spears Carlito, and Finn attempts to slither into the ring with a steel chair. And Braun Breaker like hits the mat and meets Finn eye to eye while they're on all fours, with Finn trying to slink into the ring. And he just mean mugs Finn until Finn sort of backs back out of the ring. And so Breaker, even though they cheated and whatnot, he still wins the match via disqualification, and he still ended up looking strong against all of the members of Judgment Day.
Yeah. Who do you think the new member's going to be? Because there's going to be a new member.
They keep mentioning a new member of Judgment Day, so I think that must be on the. And I'm like, well, R-Truth is still there. He still probably thinks he's a member.
He probably does. I mean, last match he had, he was still tagging Miz.
But yeah, I'm not entirely sure who it would be, unless it's going to be maybe someone that gets pulled up from NXT.
Well, the plot thickens then.
Yep. It also would fit with what I'd heard. Like, remember the 14-ish something releases that happened recently, and we were just shocked by a few of them. Like, we were shocked about. We were definitely shocked about Baron Corbin, and we were shocked about Isla Dawn, and we were really shocked about. Oh, come on! She was with Pure Fusion Collection. Sonya Deville, thank you. My brain kept wanting to put Tanya, and I'm like, no, that's not right.
That's
Sonya
Tanya
Deville.
the evil.
Yeah, entirely different kind of evil. Sonya's evil in a different way. So that surprised us. So looking into it, there was some speculation that was to make space for them to pull some people up from NXT. So if they are in fact looking to pull some folks up from NXT, maybe the new member of Judgment Day comes from NXT. And if that's the situation, I sure don't know who it would be because I don't really track NXT. Like some
Yeah.
stuff filters through because it's big enough to come through. Like Obafemi is amazing and Trick Williams is amazing. And I've heard a little bit on the wind about Ethan Page, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah. Well, the plot thickens.
What I was kind of surprised about, though, was that AJ Styles didn't interfere here at all, even though Braun Breaker attempted to spear the life out of him in his match with Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
So now it almost looks like we're getting triple, like three-way heat because the mean mugging with Finn Balor suggested like you've just established a feud with Finn Balor because this angry little leprechaun will accept nothing else. So are we setting up a three-way dance with Braun Breaker, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor?
I don't know, but I'd be here for it.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
Braun Breaker would be the absolute, like, not babyface as like a face, but like babyface as in such a newbie when it comes to who's in the ring. If that were the case, Finn Balor has been doing this for I don't know how long. AJ Styles probably just as long,
Mm-hmm.
and then Braun Breaker, who's like, I showed up last week.
Well, and the surprising thing is, in all cases, Braun Breaker is the hot commodity right now. He's
Yeah,
also the champ.
absolutely, yeah,
So,
and that's
so
why.
while Braun would definitely benefit from the experience of getting in the ring with veterans like AJ and Finn, he would also be the one giving them the rub.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think that'd be a hot match. I'd be here for it.
I think so too. I think it'd be very good. Following that match with Braun Breaker and the Judgment Day, we got a really lengthy recap of The Rock's absolute abortion promo with Cody Rhodes from SmackDown. I kept using the like fast forward 10 seconds thing to get through it because I watched it on SmackDown and I damn sure didn't feel like watching it again. It was awful.
Yeah.
I don't know if folks who are listening to this have listened to our SmackDown coverage or have heard how bad that promo was. It was bad. And here tonight,
Yeah.
WWE was trying to both double down on it and try to make it make sense, but that comes later.
Yep.
At any rate, that was like 10 minutes of this show that was a complete waste of everyone's time. To recap that crap. We then cut to a segment where the Creed brothers are hyping up Ivy Nile backstage, and Kathy Kelly stops them and asks Ivy Nile, like, you know, are you hoping to get a match for the for Lyra Valkyria's championship? And Ivy's like, yeah.
Duh.
Like before Master Gable went to solve the riddle of Lucha Libre, he left us with one directive, which was bring gold to American Made, and that's what I'm trying to do. And she was proceeding to try and like go on further, but at that point, the Creed brothers get jumped from behind by the Ward Raiders, and it just becomes a brawl that ends that segment with security trying to step in and stop everybody from, you know, beating each other to death in the backstage. Next comes the big segment with Cody Rhodes, the big announcement that Cody Rhodes, you know, oh, what are you gonna say about the Rock's offer? Are you gonna sell your soul to the devil? And would you like to speak to this segment?
Oh Lord. You know, this segment has my forehead itching. You know what? It wasn't as bad as the actual promo that they will be referring to often in this particular segment. I said it. Anyway, Cody Rhodes comes out and he does his So Cincinnati. I'm pretty certain I know what we're supposed to talk about. He tries to make sense and I'm not gonna go verbatim or recap or like that, but he tries to make sense basically of what Roman has said. I'm not Roman, so sorry. The Rock has said, and he's trying to give us a little more detail as to what he thinks The Rock means. And essentially, he thinks everything that you're thinking, making him the like corporate guy, the corporate champion, that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much what The Rock was referring to when he said he wanted his soul. Um, and Cody gets everything. You know, he gets everything that his little heart would desire, everything his wife would desire. Like basically everything he's ever wanted, he gets if he does this. And then in comes Seth freaking Rollins. Music cuts. His music cuts in. He comes. And he comes in. Uh, in his very best "Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego" impersonation jacket.
It
Um,
was the reddest of red.
It was like if Carmen Sandiego was into BDSM.
Oh no.
Hey, it was like a leather or PVC or latex or some sort of
It was like a
patent leather
vinyl
type.
long coat, a
Yeah,
vinyl red long coat.
yes. It's like it looked like something that a stripper named Candy would wear.
It might have
Yeah.
been.
Might have been. You're
Just-
right.
It's just that Candy's real name is Becky.
Oh no! Gotcha, Becky. We know what you're all about.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
No, kidding. Please don't sue us. So Seth comes out and he is very very upset that Cody is even considering this. He is shocked that he didn't slap the taste right out of The Rock's mouth when he even approached him with this bullshit Friday. Seth is just fucking shocked. And then Cody fires back with like, "Look, my man, I know who you are, right?" And he cuts this little promo, basically letting Seth know that he knows who he's dealing with. He knows who he is. And don't jump to conclusions and all of this. Like basically, they both came out there to try to make sense of what Roman. So, I'm sorry, with Rock. Why do I keep doing that?
Because you're thinking of the final boss and the head of the table at the same time. It would have made more sense if
The
Roman
final
had said it,
table.
is the thing.
Yeah.
That's what's weird.
Yeah. So they both spent a lot of time, a healthy amount of time, trying to make sense of what The Rock said to Cody Friday, and essentially it was finally Seth saying, "I'm not here to judge you. Um, maybe I'm trying to protect you, because of the mistakes that he's made, and because they eat away at you and fill you up uh with so much hate." And he was just telling him that he wants him to make the right decision. And he did. I think he did end it with basically saying that he wants like if he wins Elimination Chamber, he wants that belt. He's gonna come for that belt, but he doesn't want some soulless corporate shell. Uh, he wants basically the Cody Rhodes that he had, or the one that he fought with back in the day. He wants that dude. Because he's not coming for his soul, but he is coming for that title. And I thought for what it was and for what it was attempting to do, it was I think it was a pretty good save.
I agree, considering that like a lot of this was damage control for how awful the promo was received on SmackDown. I think they did the best they could.
Yeah, I agree. And so I don't really have any negative critiques about this particular promo. It was lengthy, but there was a lot of bullshit that they had to try to fix. So, and I think they did a great job, and I thought it's really smart. I even said this while we were watching it. It's really smart of WWE to bring Seth Rollins out here for this because he cuts extremely realistic promos for even the most ridiculous of situations. He somehow makes the situation believable. In his line of thinking, he knows how to think like I guess a regular person would be thinking about would be thinking in situations that seem outlandishly ridiculous. He seems to have a level head there and come up with really level uh decisions or responses to it, which is great. And is that because he can be level headed in that manner, it makes when he's a heel all the more devastating because he's very calculating.
He's the architect.
Yeah, he is definitely the architect. It's brilliant. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this particular promo or vignette, whatever you want to call it. Lengthy, but it felt like it needed to be. It did a great job, in my honest opinion, of making what The Rock blabbered incoherently. It made it make sense.
To make more sense of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to piggyback on what you were saying about Seth freaking Rollins. That dude is probably one of, if not the top guy in the company because he is just that damn good. I mean,
Yeah.
in the ring, out of the ring, he's got the right mind for it. He can cut a promo on the fly that makes sense. Even when other people's like shit is rambling and doesn't make any sense, Seth can bring it back to the ground and make it make sense. Which is why I think they called on him here with his spot with Cody.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think that's brilliant. It was a really smart decision to do.
Yep, the architect is one of the goats. I mean, he absolutely is.
Yeah.
Well, following that promo, we are taken backstage where Akira Tozawa is getting treated in the trainer's room for the beatdown that Gunter gave him. And Jey Uso steps up and, tells him, hey, respect, and offers him an ice pack. And he tells the rest of Alpha Academy, to be cool and to look after Tozawa. And then as he's leaving the room, he gets stopped by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And Grayson, is the one running his mouth the most here. And he says that Jay, it seems like all of your friends need ice packs these days. And you know why that is? It's because Jay only cares about himself. And he continues to say that Jay is nothing more than a meme. He's not on Gunter's level. They know it. The rest of the boys in the back know it. Smart people on the internet know it. And Jay responds by saying, everybody's underestimating me. They're doubting me. The whole damn world. He says, I'm going to prove everybody wrong at WrestleMania. And then he proceeds to do the yeet. And Austin Theory gets caught up in it and proceeds to try and do the yeet too. And Grayson gets mad at Austin. And Austin says, well, why are you on me? You need to worry about him. And he says, what do I need to worry about Jay for? And then Jay super kicks him. And then while Grayson is on the ground and Austin Theory is kneeling next to him, he goes, yeet. It was fantastic. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
It never gets tiresome to see Grayson Waller get kicked in the face.
Oh God, never. No. Never, ever, ever. That should be a national holiday.
I want him to get kicked. I want him to get super kicked so hard that he does like 3 lunges before falling down. I want it to look like a Grayson Waller reboot, like to factory settings.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd be here for that.
Following that particularly amusing segment, we find out that next week on Raw, the War Raiders will put their World Tag Team titles on the line against the Creed Brothers again. And apparently this time, unlike the last time, this time it's going to be war. The first time it was like practice war.
Yeah,
This is
practice.
actual war.
Yes, yes, yes. This one is I mean it war.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
serious business war.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and that will bring us to our sixth and final match of the night, the main event. Bianca Belair and Naomi are putting the women's tag team championships on the line against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And would you
I
like to speak to this match?
I would love to say that this is absolutely the match of the night.
Yep,
Um,
fully agree.
and I think the second match of the night is probably the one with Dakota Kai and Lyra,
Yeah,
because I mean they freaking brought it. And these ladies, Bianca Belair and Naomi versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Get out of here. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. First, Raquel Rodriguez looked amazing. Um, she looked so good, so dominant. She did some boots to the face that looked like she was trying to kick somebody's soul out of their skull. Um, it was a great match. There were so many false
finishes.
finishes. There were so many saves, man. So many times where I was like, okay, well that's it, and they were like, "Are you sure about that?" No, no, I'm not. I am no longer sure of that. Um, I knew. I can say that this match followed one of the patterns that I have noticed in wrestling, especially in WWE. Um, so when I saw that, my kitten ears perked up, and I realized that. Let me say what it is first. So I have a theory, and I think I have said this before on the podcast. Excuse me, but I have a theory that whoever attacks first in a match, like before the bell rings, before you know, the match is technically starting, or even right as the bell rings, whoever attacks first, like a sucker punch, a sucker, whatever, a kick, you jump on, you pounce, whatever, whoever does that is usually the person or a tag team that's gonna lose the match. And uh, I hate to burst your bubbles here and hurt your souls, but Bianca Belair and Naomi attacked first. And I saw that, and I go, are we gonna get new tag team champions tonight? Like, are they about to be not one, not two, but three-time women tag team champions? Liv and Raquel? But I kept watching the match, and even with my little theory, I still didn't know. I still didn't know who was going to win because there was like like, oh my god, you're like, something happens, you're like, okay, now that's it, and no, it's not. Something else happens, and you go, okay, no, that's definitely it. Nah, no, these ladies kept going, and they looked phenomenal. And I know that I only mentioned Naomi. I'm sorry, not Naomi. Liv and Raquel as looking awesome, but they all did. Bianca is six pack city, man. Um, and her time in the gym is showing off in more ways than one. She's lifting people like it ain't nothing. She's doing her moves. She's doing her moves like it ain't. I mean, she's rocking. Um, Cakes, of course. Cakes always looks good. But everybody looked good in this match. Everybody.
For those not immediately aware, Cakes is Naomi.
Oh yeah, Naomi. Naomi Cakes McGee.
I mean, if the shoe fits. I just wanted to be clear for those that weren't aware that Naomi is cakes. I
Yeah,
mean, she is total cakes, but that's who you're referring to.
yes. The shoe fits, cake it.
Uh,
And what did you think about this match, please? And I know that if you got finisher highlights or you got highlights you want to talk about, please feel free.
Oh, this match blew my mind. Like initially, I thought because on SmackDown they were setting up a match, and Liv Morgan and Raquel attacked Bianca and Naomi like before the bell rang, and then the match just never happened because they attacked them so bad. And I initially thought, is that what's happening here? Because Belair and Naomi attacked Judgment Day before the bell rang, and I was like, oh no, is the match gonna get? Is it gonna be another one of those? Fortunately, while they did attack the Judgment Day and they pretty much deposited Raquel like into the Timekeepers area, they managed to throw Morgan into the ring and get in there and get the match started. And I was like, oh, whew. Um,
Yeah.
so initially, the Judgment Day is at a disadvantage because Belair and Naomi jumped them. But it was a payback jumping. That said, the first part of the match was pretty give and take. Like it was a decent back and forth between the Judgment Day and Belair and Cakes. It wasn't until we returned from the commercial break that we start the like middle portion of this match, and you've got Naomi in the ring with Morgan. And Naomi hits a running leg drop on Morgan after drop kicking her knee. And I want to say Rodriguez gets tagged in and launches Naomi over the top rope. And then that sends her out onto the apron. And she hits Raquel in the midsection and then does the slingshot X Factor, which Raquel sold beautifully. Like she went like it looked like it hit her in the face, like instead of it being like full body flat, like it looked pretty brutal. And then Naomi gets a 2 count off of that. Recovering from that, Naomi tries to go for a crossbody, but Rodriguez blocks it, and then Naomi kicks Raquel in the face, and I want to say Naomi then moves up to the middle, she gets on the middle rope and does like a flying blockbuster to Raquel, which looked pretty cool. And then she tags in Bianca. Bianca then goes for a 450 splash on the then prone Raquel Rodriguez. And that was a bit of an oof because I think she under rotated a little bit because her knee and whatnot landed in Raquel's like upper chest and neck, and I was like, oh man, Raquel literally ate that one. Like, is she okay?
Yeah.
It looked pretty brutal, but I don't think like I think that was a bit of a botch, but it was recoverable. And Raquel ends up kicking out, and then she kicks Naomi off the apron. Belair grabs her from behind and attempts to do the KOD to Raquel, but she eye rakes Belair, and Raquel sort of gets out and heads over to her corner where Morgan tags herself in, and they set up a flying codebreaker flapjack combination, and it was disgusting, but it only got a 2 count.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Morgan attempts to do the Oblivion, but Bianca, isn't having it. And Naomi tags herself in. And Belair and Naomi end up trying to go for a double KOD on Liv. But at that moment, Dominic Mysterio runs out and jumps up on the apron and distracts the ref, which allows Rodriguez to get back in the ring. And she clotheslines Belair and then hits the Tejana bomb on Naomi. And Naomi then gets up and staggers to the ropes where Morgan hits Oblivion on Naomi. And we're like, oh, snap. This is it. This this is where the Judgment Day is going to win, but it's only for a 2 count. And then Rodriguez like comes in with the big boot, and Bianca Belair like takes out running and spears the life out of Rodriguez. Like, I think when you saw it happen, you were like, they jumped up for that one.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Naomi hits a sit-out jawbreaker, and then goes to tag in Belair, because they weren't the legal opponents at that point in time. But now Belair's in here, and she grabs up Morgan and tries to go for the marching vertical suplex, but Morgan turns it into an inside cradle for a 2 count. And then Belair blasts Rodriguez off the apron, and Morgan rolls Bianca over like with a schoolgirl for another 2 count. And then after she kicks out, she ducks under a clothesline that Morgan attempts, and then picks Morgan up and hits the KOD. And we're like, oh man, this is where it's over for sure. And Liv's like, nah, brah. And she kicks out at 2, and we're like, holy shit. So that's like 2 false finishes that look like they really were the end of the match. And then I want to say Naomi comes in and hits Rodriguez with a forearm smash. And I think it was when Rodriguez was near her out on the apron, because it puts Rodriguez kind of bent over, and Naomi hits Rodriguez with a heat seeker DDT, but like it's on the apron. And at that point, Bianca tags in Naomi, and they do the double KOD to Morgan. But I want to say Rodriguez jumps in and breaks that count. And no, I'm sorry, that wasn't the case. Actually, what had happened was when they do the double KOD, Morgan is very close to the bottom rope, and Dominic Mysterio grabs her boot and puts it over the bottom rope, which creates only a 2 count.
Yes.
And so we were like, oh man, what? So that's our third false finish that was very close. And this pisses off Bianca Belair. And she heads out to try and deal with Mysterio, but she's cut off by Raquel Rodriguez. And she immediately she like kicks Rodriguez and immediately picks her up for a KOD. And it looks like she's about to do it like on the announce table. And we're like, holy shit. But Rodriguez blocks the KOD and then picks up Bianca Belair and does a snake eyes to her on the announce table. And then Naomi jumps over the top rope onto Raquel. And then as she's getting back in the ring, Liv tries to hit her with Oblivion, but Naomi's able to wrap her arm around the top rope, so she stops it. And then Naomi pulls her to the middle of the ring and attempts to go for the Bubba Bomb, that big, like, she starts in like a full Nelson position, lifts them up, and then slams them down on their tailbone.
Yeah.
But Morgan, when she got lifted up in the full Nelson lift, was able to roll it into a roll-up pin for a 2 count. And we're like, oh man, this is crazy. At this point, it's anybody's game. Like, the next person that can get like an actual move into a pin that doesn't get messed with is winning. So this is a real nail biter. We're like, man, this is awesome. This is like a pay-per-view match that we're getting right here. And Naomi, after she gets recovers from that 2 count on Morgan, Morgan tries to run at her, and Naomi hits the rear view and drops, Morgan pretty flat. And Dominic tries to continue to run interference. And during this time, I want to say Naomi grabbed hold of his foot because he was like trying to be on the top rope, and she flips him into the ring. And then she turns her attention back to Liv, who's sort of laying in the corner. And so she attempts to go for the split-legged moonsault, but from outside the ring, Rodriguez grabs hold of her foot, so she's
Yeah.
just sort of stuck with the like her legs are stuck over the two top ropes in a
Yep.
very awkward way. And Raquel gets up on the apron and proceeds to slam Naomi face first into the top of the steel ring post. And so Naomi just sort of crumbles back into the ring, and Morgan then sort of covers her because Morgan was still prone, and she just goes for the cover. And it's at that moment that the Judgment Day pick up the victory, becoming the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And
Yeah.
holy god dang, that was a hell of a match.
Yeah, it was. It was really good.
Wow, it was the ladies' night tonight on Raw. Like their matches were fire, and this main event was like 10 out of 10 neck nubs. I mean, we
Yeah.
had so many false finishes. It was a real nail biter all the way to the end. Everybody, with the exception of a minor glitch on a 450, everybody hit the shit out of their moves just right. Raquel and Liv looked great. Bianca and Naomi looked great. Hell, even Dominic Mysterio got all his stuff right. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Match of the night, easily.
Agreed. Like hands down, without question, match of the night.
Yep, and it was with Raquel and Dominic and Liv all celebrating in the ring to fireworks and being the new women's tag team champions that Raw went off the air.
So, your neck nub distribution.
Man, first and foremost, I will say Raw, unlike SmackDown this week, which was oof, Raw was absolutely top tier. I would probably go so far as to say it's somewhere between an 8.5 and 9 neck nubs.
Yeah.
And largely it's an 8.5 all on its own, but I might bump it up to a 9 just because of how outstanding Bianca Belair and Naomi versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez was. Like that was a banger.
Yeah. I agree. And I think I have to agree with you on the rating as well. I think the only real big gripe I have about Raw, Raw, is that there were so many commercials, so much talky word again, so much talky. So, but that's like a small gripe. I would still put this particular show or this particular episode at like an 8.5. For sure, easily. And I mean, it could be based on just those two women's matches. They were phenomenal, and that's so. Excuse me. That's so not normal. um, I mean, I'm not saying that the women's matches are ass in WWE, but I'm saying very seldom are they the match of the night. And even more seldom, two women's matches being uh really good matches. Ones that I would talk about after the show ended. So this was definitely a bangerang of an episode, unlike last week's SmackDown, which was a letdown.
Yeah, and I'll agree with everything you said there. Usually we're happy if the women's match just wasn't the worst match of the night, right? But not necessarily that's not necessarily always the case in WWE, but like just in general with the wrestling we watch. But this absolutely was a standout. Like Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyrie really brought it. It was a little slow, like we said to start, but it really picked up speed and ended like with the gas pedal fully pressed down. You know, like it was on fire. And then the main event was amazeballs. Like, this was a match that I would expect to see at Elimination Chamber, like at a PLE. It was so good. It really stood out. And I mean, this was a great match by any metric, women's or not. And it just so happened to be four very talented women. Like, Bianca and Naomi, their spots were already secured. We knew they were alpha dog dominant women in the division. But I really got to say, Liv and Raquel showed me something. Like, I know they're considered top performers, but like, their in-ring work for this particular match really stood head and shoulders, above what I'd seen from them prior. It was great. Yeah. Everybody was on fire in that match.
Yep. I absolutely agree.
Well, that has been our review of WWE Raw for February 24th. It was an absolute banger, like we said, top tier for sure. A nice recovery, an attempted recovery from the fumble from SmackDown this week. That said, I appreciate everyone who has listened to this episode, and I hope that you will join us for the next episode. Until then, I don't think there's much for me to do but roll the outro.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.